Good. Okay. Thank you for coming in so many large numbers. I do appreciate it. My objective is to make this the most important so far 30 minutes of 2016 for you. Okay? Indeed, my objective is to make sure the session I'm going to run is going to help you plan your career, not for 2016 just, but to go way out for the next 5-10 years. So you'll remember Michael Moran and this session 5-10 years from today, okay? That's my objective. The obligatory quote of what 1080 does? We increase employee engagement. We increase employee engagement, and we do that through career conversations. But my focus is on you, because I'm going to give you access to a tool that's going to help you better manage your career. Okay? How many of you have got a career plan written down? One. Sorry? Do you want to come to the front? Now, if you're running a project in your business, right? Let's say it's £1 million project, and you said to the boss, I'm going to run it with no plan, no milestones, no delivery dates. I don't think you'd be in job very long. Your career, what, 20, 30, 40 years? I don't know. Anything from 50 to 50,000 to 150,000 a year? 20, 30 years, and you've no plan? If you've no plan, it's the equivalent of going on holiday in the first week of August, getting on the very first plane that comes along, and when you get to the destination, you say, do you know what, Michael, I didn't like it. It was too hot or it was too cold. You wouldn't plan your holidays like that, would you? So why are you planning your careers like that? Hence, in about 29 minutes, you have the capability to create a plan. What's this? What is it? What do you see? Most people seen the left-hand one, yes? Very famous. You're either looking at an old lady or a young woman, aren't you? And your brain's playing tricks on you, right? What's that? Come on, ladies, what's that? It's a Louis Vuitton shop. Where is it? I'm going to tell you a story about a lady called Muriel. And Muriel was responsible for opening Terminal 5's at Heathrow Airport. This is Heathrow Airport, right? And she sat with a board of completely 100% males other than Muriel, right? And the males on that team had one objective. When you go into Heathrow Airport, to get you as quickly as possible from the departure hall onto your plane. Muriel was doing exactly the opposite. Her background, Jimmy Choo, Dior's, Harrods, her job was to make sure you spent the most time possible in Terminal 5 shopping mall. She was responsible for the retail experience. Now, the point I'm trying to make, if you went through a railway station 10 years ago, there were no shops there, were there? Today, are they train termini, or is it a shopping mall? It depends which way you look at the picture. Now, I'm going to make the case now today, as a HR professional, and I've been there, I've done it, as an L&D professional, you people there, that's what we're doing, right? We've been looking at things the wrong way. We've been selling performance management because we think it's good for the business. We think if we hire people, we train them, and then we measure their performance, it's going to be good for the business. How many of you heard your managers say to you, do you know what, I'm really looking forward to my performance reviews next week? Well, by the way, and it's because it's hard to market, isn't it? I said, we think it's been a good idea, but the truth of the matter is, it's a hard sell. Because if I have to tell you about your performance, very often that's not a good conversation, even if it's a successful one. Now, my two favourite gurus of management are Magnus Lindquist and Dan Pink. Magnus's book, Everything We Know Is Wrong. Dan Pink's book, I'm sure you've come across it, Drive, okay? Dan's favourite quote, what science knows, business ignores. What science knows, business ignores. And all the debate we've been having of late about organisations ditching performance reviews is what science knows, business ignores. Now, I don't think hiring good people has got dramatically easier in the last 10, 15 years, despite the economy or a tsunami of CVs. I think, indeed, hiring good people is remarkably difficult. And once you've got them, you've got to hold on to them. So I'm going to say to you, you've got to start coming in a different way, because what we know about engagement, and this is from David McLeod's report, Engage for Success, employees want managers who A, care for them, B, listen to them, and 3, stretch and develop them. And not only do I want to focus on you and your career, well, I know in the business, if you've got engaged employees, you've got a very profitable business. You've got shareholder value. Or if you're in the public sector, and Engage for Success has got a really interesting stat that shows the level of engagement in hospitals and mortality rates. You won't be surprised to hear organisations with low levels of engagement in hospitals have higher mortality rates. So if you're going down the operating theatre, look at your surgeon very carefully, or the junior doctor, and say, how engaged are they? Now, so I think there's a business case, but there's all a social case for employees. In fact, I truly believe everybody in this room, every employee has an entitlement to a job which is both satisfying and career success. And we've got to change our mindset. We've got to think about, first and foremost, what's important to the employee. Now, going back to the old model, performance reviews, I think we spend too much time looking at what people don't do or don't do well. And if you give me feedback on my presentation and Michael say, Michael, you're crap as a presenter, I don't think it makes me any more motivated. In fact, I think it's demoralising. But that's the model we've been using. HR's greatest invention? Garden leave. Don't have to work, get paid. HR's worst invention? 360-degree feedback. Do you know where it came from? David Clutterbuck said it came from Stalin's Russia, and it was how the workers kept track of supervisors. Now, I'm not saying self-awareness is not important. It really is important. But I'm saying fixated on putting people right isn't motivating. It leads to demotivating conversations. And we've been focusing on the wrong thing. One of our partners' strengths helps their stats. Focus on somebody's strengths. Performance improvement, 36%. Focus on what they're not doing well, drops by 26%. Hands on heart, how many of you are working in businesses when you're focusing on people's weaknesses? David Rock, really good book, The Brain at Work. He's done some research on Eli Lilly. These are his stats, not mine. In a rating system, even where you got 5 out of 5, and the best employee, motivation goes down by 15% across the board. If, on the other hand, you try to bring below average performers up to an average, look, 38% by 18 months. Now, that should be concerning us. Because if our job in HR and L&D is to improve the performance of business, and I also think it's to help drive job satisfaction and career success, because they're linked, we've been looking at the wrong thing. Hence my story of Muriel. Now, if you want to get your FD on board with why you should invest in employees and career management, tell him the Marks and Spencer story. Again, comes from the best HR publication in the last 10 years, Nailing the Evidence. It shows the correlation between employee engagement, profitability and organisation performance. Just look at that M&S stats. The difference in engagement in their shops, upper quartile, lower quartile, only 1.29%. Take it from me, and these are Tanis Dodge stats, most people in MS are highly engaged. Difference in store performance between upper quartile, lower quartile, 142 million. So a difference of less than 1.3% is generating £140 million of sales. Now, so you say to your FD, and these are stats from the Work Foundation, if you increase engagement by 10%, you'll put £1,500 per person on the bottom line of your business. So do that mental arithmetic for me. Think of your number of employees, times it by 1,500, and tomorrow morning, go and see your FD and say, are you interested in putting that amount of money on the bottom line? That's what I call real return on investment. And that's the space we need to be in. So, a few minutes on what drives excellence. Hopefully, it's about passion, it's about perseverance, sticking at things. Again, Carol Dweck's book about positive mindsets. If you really want your children or your colleagues to develop, don't tell them they're great, tell them they're doing good, but let's work on how you can do better. A lot of research around telling people you're doing really well, they give up very quickly when they've got a difficult task. Perseverance. Excellence is not an oversight achievement. Those of you who come across the work of Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about 10,000 hours of practice will give to excellence. To do that, you've got to stick at things. You've got to work at it. And lastly, positive conditions. Again, if you look at Matthew Syed's work of Bounce, remember Matthew Syed, before he became a Times journalist, he was the UK's top table tennis player. Positive conditions, he lived in Reading. Early age, brother 3 years older, big garage, table tennis table. Big brother played him, table tennis, got better. He lived in Reading. Where did the UK's coach of table tennis live? In Reading, at his school. Lastly, in his early teens, a very famous Chinese table tennis player came and defected to the UK. Any guesses where he came to live? Reading. Positive conditions. So, if you're going to have a career conversation, the 4 things I want you to bear in mind. 1 is positive mindset. 2, spot strengths, develop strengths. 3, set positive expectations, encourage and recognise success. Just keep an eye on the time. Okay, so each one. The path of possibility, the top one. Very, very important. Very important. At the end of the day, it's what I call the law of self-fulfilling prophecies. In the words of Henry Ford, whatever you think, you're probably right. Whatever you think, you're probably right. This business of employees wanting to be stretched, now think for yourself, how can I take something I like doing and do more of it, get more out of it? And in HR, for example, running projects, spending time in the line, getting yourself involved in the CIPD, becoming a mentor. Work on those strengths and develop them. You'll get better. Yeah? Michael's helpful tips of what you can do? Positive expectations. I come back to whatever you think, you're probably right. There's this big thing around us, you know, if you think you're not good enough, then you won't be good enough. If you think, and by the way, we've done a lot of work, have we not, recently around women and confidence? And one of the big issues is having that, there's difference between male and females. Oh, I can do it. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to do that yet. Expectations, confidence, really important. And those of you managing staff, hand on heart, are we practicing this magic ratio? Everything you do, 5 good things compared to 1 negative things. My experience with most managers, they're really quick on the negative. I get that. Very hard to get positive feedback. But again, if you want to excel, exceed performance, focus on the positives. So, show of hands, how many people in this room do you think your career is important to you? Okay, I'm surprised not everybody hands up, but I'm now going to tell you the secret of managing your career. Because when I talked about the holiday example, I think most people don't manage their career because they put it in the too difficult to do box. Or they think, if I work hard, I'll get on. No, what would happen? The three things you need to know are as follows. One, what's important to you? What are your values? If your values are not aligned to that of the organisation and more important to your boss, you will never be comfortable in that job. Just won't work for you. Secondly, you need to know what motivates you. What drives you, makes you go faster. And that's what I call the knowing why piece. Values and motivators. The knowing how piece is what it is you do which gives you energy and you like doing. And I repeat, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if it doesn't give you energy, at best you'll become competent. In fact, there'll always be somebody in the organisation who likes it who will do better than you. And the problem is, if you're working at something that you don't like doing, it takes lots of energy. So, always do what you like. In the words of Winston Churchill, if you find a job you love, you'll never work again. And the knowing whom bit. And I saw people, well, Michael's working hard. The big problem about knowing whom is about having a network. And it's two things. It's investing in a network so they know your career aspirations and they owe you a favour. What do I mean by that? Is you've got to take the time and trouble to invest in them so they'll invest in you. You need about 350 to 500 people in your network, of which between 10 and 30% are A, you have a strong personal relationship, and B, they have power of influence. If they make a call on your behalf, someone will take it. So you can see what I'm saying is, it takes a significant amount of time and effort to build that network. The second thing on knowing whom, of course, is your brand. What it is that people say about you when you're not in the room. And it's got to be consistent with what the people recommending you are saying. So, and I'm going to give you access to this tool, free access to it, okay? So these are your personal values. These are the very core of you, running through your DNA. Formed in an early stage. If they're not aligned to the organisation of your boss, you're in big trouble. Career values, this is what drives job satisfaction and career success. And if you think of, say, they're in alphabetical order, but you pick your top three, and you think, oh, today I only score myself 7 for that, or 6 for that. The thing to work on is how you can move from 6 or 7 to 10. Discuss it with your boss. Thirdly, those of you familiar with Shine's career anchors, this is what makes you go fast. There's a very famous Czech psychologist whose name I really struggle with, Michael Moran. I think I've got it right. And he talks about the concept of flow. What he says is, you're so engaged in what you're doing, you don't know time's going past. That's motivation. And you can see under Shine's anchors here, again, there has to be an alignment with what you're doing. You can't set up your own business as an HR consultant and have high scores on security. Not going to work, is it? Really important. Knowing why, now knowing how. The sense of getting a report around what is it I like doing and what I'm good at. And let me point out, anything in the red, you need to avoid. If it's more than 10 or 15% of your job, you're in the wrong job. Your core skills are the purple ones. Developmentally, anything that's in the competent green bit, which you like doing, you can get better at. Go back to Guidewell, 10,000 hours. You can move those, rising, deciding, designing, to the highly skilled piece. So, why should you take Michael's word for this? Well, first of all, I'm saying that there are really hard numbers benefits for having an engaged workforce, and understanding what's important to people, what motivates them, and what they like doing gives you the handle to crank to engage people. The second thing is, I think most people come to work with a view they want to do a good job. They're looking for job satisfaction. I used to say most organisations in the UK, I remember we're in the relegation zone of engagement scores across Europe, across the world. There's a big sign above the door. What does it read? Leave your brains outside, do as you're told. Okay? We fail to maximise the potential of most of our employees. It's because we don't take the time and trouble to understand what's important to them, what motivates them, and what they like doing. So I think employees want it. I said go and see your finance director. My second point is, I think this makes managers' life very easy. When I'm selling this to line managers or training them, I say, how would you like your staff to be 30% more productive? How would you like to take off, say, reduce annual sickness by half? Or how would you like people to stay with you for 18 months longer? Are you interested? I've never noticed managers say no, they're not. So I'm saying, if we take this approach, if we focus on individuals and what's important to them, what motivates them and what they like doing, you have a much better business, wherever it is. Well, 10 minutes, right. I can't take questions, but I do want to give you a couple of freebies as well, okay? If I appeared on Mastermind, which I wouldn't, but if I did, managing people's careers would be my expert subject. And indeed, because you told me your career was important to you, I built an app. It's a game of snakes and ladders. It's free at the App Store. It's free on Google Play. And it asks you 8 questions. If you get the answer right, you go up the ladder. Answer wrong, down the snake, you get some free advice. It's called 1080 Career Ladders. I implore you, try it, look at it. The second thing is, again, if your career is important to you, and by the way, I had a long period of garden leave before I set up 1080, so in these hours to play, I wrote this book, The Guide to Everlasting Employability. I repeat, The Guide to Everlasting Employability. Only £9.99 at Amazon. Meant to get a laugh at. Okay, and the freebie for you is, if you come to our stand on R27 and you capture Liz, wherever Liz is, there she is, we will give you access to the Career Centre so you can find out what your values are, what motivates you, and what your talents is. And one of the team will then, if you want, give you feedback on those reports. It's not a pushy sale. It's there. If you think it's then helpful and it's helping you, I know then you'll take me into your organisation. It's there for you to do. So, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I've put some seeds there as to what you should be doing in 2016. My key messages: let's focus as a profession on strengths. You focus on strengths. That ROI of employee engagement is really, really good. I now say to you, if you watch the stock market, look at employee engagement scores now and look at share price in 18 months. There's a huge correlation of it. Read Nailing the Evidence. So if you're struggling to get things into your organisation, take that to the CEO, take it to the FD. My 4 principles of career conversations: about positive mindsets, about recognition, about having a high level of expectation, stretching and developing your gut selves, And if you want the slides, we'll send them to you. And lastly, if you are going to manage your career, spend time on it and reflect on what's important to you, what motivates you, and what you like doing. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the conference.